Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're dusting off a document that, let's be honest, it usually just sits on a shelf.
Right, until everyone starts screaming at each other.
Exactly. It's the Conditions of Contract for Construction, what most people know as the FIDI Red Book. We're looking at the 2017 edition.
And it is the absolute Bible for international construction. I know, the title sounds like a cure for insomnia.
It really does.
But if you are in this industry, you know this book is, well, it's a weapon.
That's the vibe I got.
Yeah.
We're zooming in on Clause 7 today, plant, materials, and workmanship. And it really feels like the rule book for a very expensive game of gotcha.
In a way, it is. I mean, you have to remember the context. We're not talking about renovating a kitchen here. We were talking about billion-dollar infrastructure.
Yeah, damn, skyscrapers.
Highways, exactly. Clause 7 is really the engine that drives quality control. It dictates how things are built, how they're tested, and crucially, who pays when it all goes wrong.
And what struck me is that it seems to rely on verification, not trust. Aggressive verification.
Trust is great for a handshake, but it's terrible for a contract. Clause 7 basically assumes that without these checks, the concrete will be weak, the steel will be rusty.
The building will fall down.
Precisely. It sets up a system of checks and balances that is just incredibly specific.
Okay, so let's peel this onion. It starts with the foundation. Clause 7.1, manner of execution. This feels like the big mission statement. But what does doing it right actually mean legally?
Well, it's not just doing it right. Clause 7.1 creates what I'd call a tripod 3. 3 specific pillars of execution. If you fail on any one of them, you're in breach.
All right, let's break down those pillars.
The first one is pretty straightforward. You have to do it in the manner specified in the contract. If the blueprint says use grade 50 steel and you use grade 40, you're wrong. End of story.
Okay, that's the objective part, but the second pillar seemed a lot murkier to me.
Right. The work has to be done in a proper workmanlike and careful manner, in accordance with recognized good practice.
Recognized good practice. That phrase terrifies me. It sounds like something lawyers argue about for 3 years.
It is exactly that.
Yeah.
But it serves this vital purpose. It has to cover the things that are, too obvious to write down.
Like what?
Well, the contract might not explicitly say, don't leave the bags of cement out in the rain.
Of course not.
But recognized good practice dictates that a professional contractor knows that wet cement is useless. You can't play dumb and say, well, the contract didn't say I couldn't mix the paint with dirt.
So it prevents the airbud defense. There's no rule a dog can't play basketball.
Exactly. And the third pillar is all about safety and suitability. You must use properly equipped facilities and, crucially, non-hazardous materials.
I noticed that. Non-hazardous. So you can't just sneak in asbestos because it's cheaper.
Unless the contract specifically asks for it, which is almost unheard of these days, you are strictly liable. You bring a hazardous material on site. That is on you.
Okay, so we know how to build. Now we need the materials. That brings us to Clause 7.2, samples. And this part honestly reminded me of planning a wedding.
Oh, how so?
You don't just order a cake for 500 people blindly. You go for a tasting first.
That is the perfect analogy. Before the contractor can use certain materials, they have to submit samples to the engineer for consent. It's a gatekeeping mechanism. You can't bake the whole cake until the client approves the slice.
But the level of bureaucracy here seems intense. I mean, it's not just tossing a brick on the engineer's desk.
No, absolutely not. You have to submit manufacturer's standard samples. And here's the kicker that trips people up. Every single sample has to be labeled with its origin and its intended use.
Why is the label so important?
It prevents the bait and switch. A shady contractor might show you a beautiful, high-quality Italian marble tile, get it approved, and then, install some cheap knockoff. The label locks it down.
This is tile X from factory Y for the lobby. And I was thinking about the cost. If I'm building a massive resort, sending samples of every faucet, every carpet, that's not cheap.
And Clause 7.2 is very clear. All at the contractor's cost. The employer doesn't pay a dime until that material is actually installed.
It sets the tone, doesn't it? The employer has the rights, the contractor has the bill.
That is the heartbeat of the Red Book.
All right, so samples are approved, construction starts. Now we get to Clause 7.3, inspection. I'm calling this the open door policy, but it feels more like a surveillance state.
It is aggressive transparency. Clause 7.3 gives the employer's personnel full access to the site, but you have to look at how they define site.
It's not just the building footprint.
Not at all. It extends to all places from which natural materials are being obtained.
So if I'm the contractor and I'm sourcing granite from a quarry 300 miles away,
The engineer has the legal right to drive to that quarry and inspect the stone before it's even cut.
that is wild. And it includes factories, too.
Yes. Places of production, manufacture, and construction. If you are prefabricating steel beams in a factory in another country,
They can go there.
technically, yes. The employer has the right to walk onto that factory floor and watch the welding happen. And they can bring a camera.
I saw that, the explicit mention of recording.
That's a key update in the 2017 edition. They can make records, including photographs and video recordings, so you can't say, hey, no photos here.
Which brings us to what I think is the most dramatic part of this whole thing, the cover-up. This just feels like a trap.
It is the nightmare scenario for every site manager. It's where the rubber really meets the road.
Let's paint the picture for everyone. I'm a contractor. I've just laid all this complex wiring inside a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm ready to put up the drywall. But once that's up, I mean, that's it. Nobody can see the wiring.
It's gone.
So what do I have to do? Legally.
You have to give notice. It is absolutely mandatory. The clause says the contractor shall give a notice to the engineer whenever work is ready, and before it is covered up, put out of sight, or even packaged.
Packaged counts, too, like putting a turbine in a crate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Once it's in the crate, you can't check the weld. So you give notice. I am covering this up tomorrow.
Okay, so here's the game of chicken. I give the notice. I say, I'm closing up the wall on Tuesday. Tuesday comes. You, the engineer, you don't show up. You don't call. Nothing.
In that case, you win. If the engineer doesn't attend at the time stated, you can proceed. You can cover up the work. You are safe.
Safe from what? Exactly.
Safe from the cost of uncovering it later. If the engineer wakes up on Wednesday and says, wait, I wanted to see that, they can still ask you to open the wall. But, and this is huge, the employer has to pay for it.
Ah, okay. But now let's flip it. This is the trap. What if I don't give notice? I'm in a rush. I put up the drywall on Monday.
That is the cover-up trap. If you fail to give notice and the engineer wants to see what's behind the wall, you have to uncover it. You tear down the drywall, expose the work, and then put it all back.
And who pays for that?
You do. The contractor. Entirely at your own risk and cost.
Even if the wiring underneath was perfect.
That is the crucial point. Even if it was the best wiring in history. You're not being penalized for bad work. You're being penalized for denying the engineer the opportunity to inspect.
That is harsh. It forces you to slow down.
It forces transparency.
Yeah.
It eliminates that hide it quick mentality.
So inspection is looking at things, but then there's clause 7.4, testing. If inspection is an open door, testing feels like an obstacle course you have to build yourself.
It's a massive logistical undertaking. And again, look at who provides what. The text says the contractor provides, well, everything. Apparatus, documents, fuel, instruments, labor.
I got stuck on the phrase temporary supplies of electricity and water.
It's a big deal. Imagine you're building a pipeline in the desert. There's no grid. You need to pressure test it. The contractor has to truck in water and bring generators for power.
While the employer just stands there with a clipboard.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The employer observes. The contractor has to build the entire laboratory environment for the test. And the instruments have to be calibrated. You can't just use any old pressure gauge.
Right, you have to prove your ruler is actually a ruler. So what about the timing? How does that work?
The contractor gives a notice. We're testing on Friday. Now, the engineer actually has a responsibility here, too. They must give a notice of at least 72 hours if they intend to attend.
So the engineer has to RSVP.
Basically, yes. They have to confirm they're coming.
And if they don't, what if I'm standing there, generator running, it's Friday noon, and the engineer is a no-show?
This is the deemed presence rule. If the engineer doesn't attend, the contractor proceeds with the test. And the contract says the tests are then deemed to have been made in the engineer's presence.
That's a fascinating legal fiction. So he's legally in the room, even if he's out to lunch.
Correct. And because he's deemed to be there, he's deemed to have accepted the readings as accurate. He can't come back Monday and question the result.
That's a powerful protection for the contractor. Otherwise, an employer could just delay a project forever.
Exactly. But there's a twist. The engineer can vary the tests.
Vary, as in change the rules mid-game.
They can tell you to do the test at a different location or a different time, or do a whole different test.
Do it again, but this time underwater.
Theoretically. Now, here's where the money comes in.
Yeah.
If that new varied test passes, the employer pays for the extra cost and the delay.
Fair enough. You wasted my time. You pay for it.
But, and here's the gamble, if that varied test shows the work is defective,
Then the contractor pays for everything.
The whole thing. The test, the remedial work, the delay, it shifts the risk entirely.
Okay, so let's say the worst happens. We fail. Red light is flashing. We move to clause 7.5, defects and rejection.
This creates what I call the loop of rejection. The engineer gives a notice describing the defect. The contractor then has to submit a proposal to fix it.
I'll patch it or I'll replace it.
Right. And there's a timer. The engineer reviews that proposal. If the engineer stays silent for 14 days, they're deemed to have given a notice of no objection.
Silence equals consent.
In this specific 14-day window, yes. It's crucial for avoiding bottlenecks. You can't just have a proposal sitting in an inbox for 6 months.
But what if the contractor refuses to fix it, or their fix is still terrible?
Then you go to clause 7.6, the enforcement arm. Remedial work. The engineer can just instruct the contractor to remove and replace anything that isn't compliant.
Remove and replace. Those are expensive words.
Brutal. It could mean tearing down a foundation. And there's an urgency clause, too. For safety, the engineer can demand immediate remedial work.
And if the contractor just says no?
Then the employer plays the ace. The contract says the employer may employ and pay other persons to carry out the work.
Self-help. They bring in a new crew.
A rival crew, yes. They fix the problem, and then they charge the original contractor for all of it. It's a financial clawback.
That is the ultimate insult. You're paying your competitor to fix your mistake.
And you have no control over the cost. It is the ultimate motivation to get it right the first time.
Before we wrap, I want to touch on two quick financial clauses. Clause 7.7, ownership of plant and materials.
This is one of the most misunderstood concepts in construction.
My assumption was always, I'm the contractor, I bought the bricks, I own them until I hand over the keys at the very end.
Common logic, but it's wrong under FAD. Ownership transfers to the employer at the earlier of two moments.
Okay, moment one.
When it is delivered to the site.
Wait, the second the truck dumps the sand, that sand belongs to the employer, even if I haven't been paid for it yet.
Assuming local laws allow it, yes. The moment it hits the dirt, the title transfers.
And moment two.
When the contractor is entitled to payment for it. So if you get paid for material still in a factory overseas, ownership transfers then and there.
Why is the contract so aggressive about seizing ownership?
It's all about bankruptcy protection, insolvency. If your contractor goes bust, you, the employer, need to know that the pile of steel on the ground actually belongs to you so you can finish the job.
So a liquidator can't come in and seize the materials. That makes sense.
Exactly. It protects the project itself.
And finally, clause 7.8, royalties. This feels like a footnote, but I bet it's an expensive one.
It can be. It just reminds the contractor that if they're digging up sand or dumping waste, they have to pay the rents and royalties. The employer isn't paying your dumping fees.
And dumping 1,000 tons of concrete waste is not cheap.
It's a massive line item.
So let's zoom out. We have the samples, the inspections, the grueling testing, the rejection loop. It is a beast of a clause.
It's a comprehensive system designed to eliminate ambiguity.
What's the one thing you want a listener to take away from this?
I think the big takeaway is accountability. Clause 7 is designed to prevent the "I thought you checked it" excuse.
Right. I thought you looked at the wiring. No, I thought you looked at it.
Exactly. This contract forces a documented handshake at every critical step. I am covering this now. Okay, I have seen it. It creates a paper trail of quality.
And those principles apply everywhere. Agree on the sample before you buy the bulk, inspect it before you hide it.
And realize that verification costs money. That is the hidden lesson. Quality control isn't free. It costs fuel, electricity, labor, time. It's part of the work, not in addition to it.
Precisely.
It's a part of the work, not in addition to it.
So here's a final thought to chew on. We've established the employer has all the rights to watch, to record, to reject, but the contractor has to do all the heavy lifting, providing the electricity, the tools, the labor.
It's a very heavy burden.
Does this rigorous oversight actually create better buildings? Or does it create a culture where contractors just build to the test? Are we incentivizing quality or just incentivizing passing an inspection?
And that is the eternal question of compliance, isn't it? When the rule book is this thick, there's a real risk you stop thinking like a craftsman and start thinking like a lawyer. You build exactly what's required to pass and not an ounce more. And that is when the soul of the building and sometimes the quality can slip away.
Something to think about the next time you walk past a construction site. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
A pleasure.
We'll see you on the next one.
If you're interested in the templates, please visit our shop. The link is in the description.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and see next time.